Why would you pay over $1,100 for this jacket when you could pay just $256? That is the question at hand. Hi, I'm Dell. This is Duds by Dell. I love talking about leather jackets. And that's what we're doing today. We're talking about buying used versus buying new leather jackets. And we're using this Aero leather Highwayman as our case in point. You know, when folks ask me, what's a good cheap jacket to buy? Or what's the best cheap jacket to buy? I kind of uniformly reply, you should buy a used Aero, Vanson, or Shot. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of why you should be doing that or why you shouldn't be doing that. And I will tell you exactly how I ended up paying $256 for this over $1,100 Aero Highwayman, so that if it makes sense for you, you can do it too. Before I get into that, I do want to just really briefly talk about this Aero Highwayman. It is the Aero leather bestseller year over year. It is a jacket that has a style that is widely acceptable to a lot of folks, whether you're a leather jacket person or just someone that wants a leather jacket to have. It can probably fit into your wardrobe. They sell it in a lot of different leathers. Really famously, Aero uses heavy leathers like Chrome XL steer hide, which this jacket is made out of, or Chrome XL horse hide, but they do sell it in a lot of other different leathers. And you can also get different linings. This one happens to have this cool, like tweedy situation going on here, but you can get cotton drill and corduroy and a bunch of different other possibilities there. Also, the Aero Highwayman, just for folks who are interested in it, I did a review on it. Sizing advice is important, of course, and it is important in this process of buying used. For the Highwayman, it runs very big. And to get this, which I consider to be a standard fit, you need to size 2 down from your regular. So I'm 175 pounds. I'm 5'9". I have just over a 40-inch chest, which I am typically a 40 in standard sizing. I got a 36 in the Highwayman. A 36 in most jackets would be painted onto me and I wouldn't even be able to get my arms through it probably, but the 36 Highwayman fits like a dream. So that's kind of the talk about the Highwayman. And I want to tell you about how to buy this jacket at the price that I did. But before that, we need to get into the pros and cons. The pros. Clearly, the largest pro of buying used, of paying $256 versus paying, about $1,120 or whatever it would be with shipping, is the money. Saving all that money is incredible. How often would you be excited to see something on sale for 78% off the list price? That's a hell of a deal. You don't see that on Black Friday deals. That's beyond doorbuster level of savings. It's incredible. It's an amount of savings that is so much that it's not just a discount that someone who would otherwise be buying this jacket's just happy to save a little money. It means that if you could never afford this jacket that would normally cost over $1,000, it is affordable. It puts it in the affordability range, as a matter of fact, of less expensive than like the Thursday Racer jacket I reviewed, which was $350. And I think that this is a heck of a lot better than $350 Thursday Racer jacket. This is an incredible piece of workmanship and incredible hides. It is an awesome jacket. And for folks who could not otherwise buy it, having something cost so much less than the standard list price is a form of magic, as far as I'm concerned. It is just amazing. So that is a huge pro and by far the biggest pro here. It is also something about when you're buying a used jacket, something you're not expecting to send back. You can't really return a used jacket, right? You get to wear it. And this is a sneaky one, but it's important because to really get to know a jacket and to see if it really works for you, I do believe you have to wear it kind of a lot. You have to wear it in different circumstances. You have to wear it out of your house. You can't just put it on and see if it fits right and look in the mirror and know if a jacket's really going to work for you. I think you really have to wear it out and about, And so buying a used jacket lets you do that. There's no pressure to keep it in pristine condition and because you're not planning to return it to the shop. It's your jacket. Another pro of buying used, when we're talking Aero, Vanson, Shot, these big name labels, there are so many popular models that are available in the used market because they have been because they have been making jackets for decades. And so, of course, when we're talking about a leather garment that has a lifetime that could be longer than normal human beings, obviously there are going to be some leather jackets on the used market. It's also folks that decided the jacket wasn't for them or whatever. There just is a much larger used market for these jackets from these big makers that have been making for a long time. And so you can get access to those popular models for cheap. So that's an incredible pro. And those I think are the big ones. What about the cons though? So what if you don't want the popular model? Or what if you can't fit the standard size? If you're outside that typical core of the bell curve, the most commonly sought after and commonly fitted sizes and jackets, you might not be able to find the jacket that will work for you. You know, what if you really want a particular leather? Well, you're probably only going to find the most commonly used leathers. What if your arms are 3 inches longer than standard for your chest size? You're probably not going to find a jacket that fits you properly. So that's a con, that's a problem buying used. You also have to deal with the fact that there's no customer service other than the item should be as described. So if you put that jacket on and look in the mirror and know in that moment that it doesn't fit you, you're stuck with it unless it was not properly represented. So there is some risk involved here that you are taking on by buying used. And so what does this mean for who does it make sense to buy used or buy new? Obviously, the money matters when we're talking about who it makes sense to buy a used jacket. So folks that just couldn't otherwise afford it, buying used is incredible. Someone that's really wanting to take time to learn a jacket and get an introduction to a style and just figure it out before maybe they decide to do some customization in particular leathers and all that kind of stuff. Buying used is a good way to dip your toes in the water and decide if that style is for you. It's also for someone who doesn't mind wearing other people's clothes. And maybe you have to do a little bit of finagling. For example, this jacket was used and I had to replace the zipper on it. It wasn't difficult. It was just a part of the slide. The slide was still attached, but the pull part, this little guy at the top, I had to attach that. So, you know, there might be a little bit of work involved because it's someone else's clothes that they used before. Maybe you need to clean it and condition it. Maybe you need to work to get a smell out. You should ask about smells when you're buying used. This goes into the things as represented category. And so, you know, if all those make sense for you, then buying used could be right up your alley. Now, who wouldn't it make sense for? What if you already know that you want something that isn't easily available? Like you're trying to get a style that's just not a popular style, but has a real strong personal appeal for you. Or you want a leather that's just not available on the used market. Or you know fit-wise, that example I gave, what if your arms just are really long and gangly and it's hard to find a jacket that fits those arms and you know you're gonna have to get something custom or wait a very long time to find the jacket that just happens to have been made that fits your dimensions. You could also be interested in a new jacket because you want the break-in process to be your own. You're really interested in that formation and that effort, and you can't get that if someone has already broken in the jacket for you because you bought it used. And I would say behind these, there's also kind of a time component. It takes patience to buy used sometimes, and time. It took me a couple months to find this jacket. So if you're in a hurry, just buying something that happens to be in stock is probably easier from the maker themselves with their own big personal stock. Not always true, but often the case. So going over this, is used for you or not? If used is for you, well, how do you do it? How did I do it with this jacket? Okay, there's really kind of two components here. One, you have to know your size, okay? Size recommendations are very important. And if you haven't been able to try the jacket on in person, this is often the most difficult, stressful part of the entire process. And even knowing your own measurements and knowing what makes sense for you and knowing the recommended sizes, there is always going to be a little bit of unknown here. There's going to be a risk until you get the jacket and get to try it on. The ways you mitigate that risk are knowing what measurements typically work for you. There's a range for most people. My recommendation is to take a soft tape measure around your chest to get your chest measurement. And once you know that, so for example, if I take a soft tape wearing a t-shirt, wrap it around my chest, the widest point, it's 40.5 inches, okay? And I know that around 44 inches is a good fit for me, a nice, trim, appropriate fit. So when we know that, we can look at jackets and see their measurements and hopefully get the right jacket. The problem is that sometimes other people don't measure things the same way we do. And so it's really hard, and there's that risk. It's unavoidable. Again, if you're looking at Aero Highwayman, size down 2 from your standard. So I normally wear a 40 and I got a 36. If you have any particular sizing questions, this is something I'm commonly answering. Fire away, I'll answer if I know for that particular style. You can also always go to the maker of the jacket and ask for their recommendation. You can go to the Fedora Lounge and ask for recommendations, or kind of look around a Reddit leather jacket or Shot, or any of those places that have people that are interested, that have done that thing. You can ask for their advice and hopefully get some good recommendations. Now, once you have the size of the jacket you're looking for, you can go to the used places. So places that I buy from: eBay, Grailed. There's also Vinted, for example. I think that's only in Europe. I don't see Vinted around here very much. Depop, Mercari. There's a bunch of Japanese-based places like Yahoo Auctions Japan and the Mercari Japan and Rakuten. The way you access those Japanese-based sites, by the way, which is where I bought this jacket, you can use the proxy sites like bai.jp or From Japan. You cannot directly purchase from those auction sites yourself as an American citizen. And I think that's true for anyone who's abroad, but the proxy sites will make the purchase for you and then send the jacket to you. And so I happened to find this jacket while looking. I used Bai for a long time. I think the From Japan interface is easier to use. The fees are roughly similar. You might compare across both of them if you're particularly buying. And I just searched, you look for the size, you look through, you look for the details, and you just find the jacket that makes sense for you and take the risk. I mean, this jacket was $175, and then I paid shipping, and it came out. And I will say, and this is funny, I get so many compliments on this jacket. And it was so inexpensive. It did take effort. Okay, it took some time. It took knowing the recommended size. It took looking up how easy it would be to replace the zipper tab on the slide. All of those things are doable, I think. I think that anyone could do that. And I don't feel particularly special that I did those things. So if this is something you're interested in doing, it's not that hard. The only recommendation otherwise that I would make is, when you're buying from these sites, it can be hard, especially in Japan, for example, to get answers to questions about the items. I would make sure to really closely review the listing and the pictures, and use PayPal when you buy, because PayPal includes some buyer protections. And if the item is grossly misrepresented, if something shows up that is really dirty, smelly, and those things were not properly disclosed, you can return it and get your money back. And so, you run certain risks, but then you can mitigate them a little bit. And I think that the reward is really worth it. It's really worth it to get an awesome jacket like this Aero Highwayman, or a cool Shot 618, or a Vance & Enfield, or Comet, or Model B, for much less money if you're not sure if that style works for you, than paying $350, for a Thursday Racer jacket, which is kind of a disappointing jacket in my mind. I think it's just not, it's kind of just meh, And why, if you can't afford the new price expensive thing, why not say, man, that used thing looks incredible, and, take a little risk to get the big thing, So that's my thoughts on buying used. Sorry for the soapbox situation there, but that's how you do it. It's not complicated. And if you've bought used, I'd love to hear your comments. If you are afraid of buying used, I'd love to hear your questions. If you bought used and had a bad experience, I would be curious about how that happened, and maybe I could learn about some more pitfalls of the process. And if you're a new only buyer, if you're avoiding buying used entirely, I would also love to hear your rationale, because I had to do a little bit of guesswork to wonder why. Because it just strikes me as just such an obvious thing to do. And I must be missing something. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have an awesome day.